Let's go ahead and start with looking at the code file addFilter.php. What this is the code used to add your own function into an existing hook. If we search through our documentation and we find the function reference for it, we can see that it's accepting a few arguments here for the original hook that you want to tie into, which for example would be anything listed on this page that is a filter, the function you want to call, and then the priority and the number of accepted arguments. Now by default, the priority is going to be 10, so if you don't need to change that or the priority of your function is not as important, then you could leave that empty. Likewise, the default argument to take is 1, since most filters are going to pull in one thing and then allow you to edit and return it. However, that's not always the case, so if you need to change that, make sure to include that 4th parameter. If we come back into our code and look at an example filter, what we could see here is that we're taking the excerpt length, meaning when an excerpt is put out onto the page, it's normally 55 words, and we're going to take it and turn it into 20. So what we're going to be doing here is tying into a filter called excerpt length, and then calling our own custom function and setting a priority of 999. Now it's important in this case that we want to set a high priority so that ours runs later, because what may be happening is WordPress itself or something else is controlling or trying to affect what the excerpt length is, and we want to make sure that ours trumps that and comes out later. Therefore, we have this higher priority. So this would be an example of how we would add filter for excerpt length. Then in our code, if we were to search for apply filters, excerpt length, and then at this point, I'm just looking in my themes folder, so I'm going to add back in the whole directory, click find. We could see that in WP includes formatting.php, excerpt length apply filters is being applied. So whenever WordPress is getting ready to pull together the excerpt length, it's going to apply all of the filters that are tied to the excerpt length. In this case, that's going to be our code running 999 way at the end and returning 20. So we could see in this process how you would add your own code to a new filter. One thing that's important here to know though is sometimes it may be a little tricky to figure out what parameter WordPress is really giving you. That's where searching into the actual code can help you figure out what's being passed. For example, as we'll see later with the apply filters, the first parameter is going to be the name of the hook, and then the second one is the default value. So in this case, what this is saying is set the default value to 55. We then know that if we want to hook any function into this excerpt length, what it's going to give us as the one parameter is 55, or an integer that is that number. That's how we know all we have to do is simply return a number. This is why knowing how to trace the code back and figure out what it is that you're being given is an important part of the process when working with different actions and hooks. In the next video, we're going to show the opposite approach, and rather than adding something onto a hook, we're going to show how to remove something from a hook.